Imagine this. You're driving to work on a Tuesday morning when a warning light suddenly flashes on your dashboard. You know exactly what it means. The mechanic will probably charge around $300 to fix it. The problem? You check your bank account. There's only $46 left until payday. So you do what millions of people would do. You ignore it. You tell yourself it'll probably be fine for another week, maybe another month. Then, one afternoon, the engine finally gives up. Now the tow truck costs another couple $100. The original repair has turned into a much bigger one. You miss work because you don't have transportation. Suddenly, that $300 problem has become a $2,500 disaster. Here's the crazy part. This isn't bad luck. It's actually one of the most expensive financial traps in modern life. And if you've ever wondered why it feels impossible to get ahead, even though you're working harder than ever, this might be the reason. Most people think being wealthy means buying luxury cars, expensive vacations, and designer clothes. But real wealth isn't about spending more. It's about paying less. Not because things are cheaper, but because having money gives you options. Ironically, the people with the least money often end up paying the most. It sounds backwards, but once you see the pattern, you'll notice it everywhere. There's an old economic idea often called the boots theory. Imagine two workers. One has enough money to buy a pair of high-quality work boots for $150. They're durable, comfortable, and they last for years. The second worker can't afford $150. They only have $40, so they buy the cheapest pair available. A few months later, the sole falls apart. They replace them, then replace them again. After several years, they've spent far more money than the first worker, yet they're still wearing uncomfortable boots. The first worker spent more once, the second worker spent less, over and over again. That's the hidden cost of having limited cash. Sometimes the cheaper option becomes the most expensive option. The same thing happens inside almost every home. Take something simple, like laundry detergent. If you have enough cash available, buying the larger bottle usually costs much less per use. The same is true for toilet paper, paper towels, soap, rice, coffee, even pet food. Buying in bulk often saves money. But if your budget only allows small purchases each week, you don't get those discounts. You pay the higher price every single time. Over an entire year, those extra dollars quietly add up, not because you made bad decisions, but because you never had enough cash available to access the cheaper option. It doesn't stop at groceries. Think about banking. Imagine your account balance is already low. A forgotten subscription renews overnight. Now your balance drops below zero. Instead of helping you through a rough week, you get hit with overdraft fees or penalty charges. One small mistake suddenly becomes a much larger expense. Meanwhile, someone with thousands of dollars sitting in their account barely notices the same charge. The exact same transaction, completely different outcome. Money doesn't just buy things, it buys breathing room. Now, let's talk about something people rarely mention, stress. Financial stress changes the way people make decisions when your rent is due, bills are piling up, and payday still feels far away. Your brain naturally focuses on surviving today. Planning 6 months ahead becomes incredibly difficult. That's why it's unfair to assume everyone starts from the same position. Someone constantly worrying about making it through the week isn't operating with the same mental freedom as someone who already has savings in the bank. Financial security isn't just about dollars, it's about having enough space to think beyond tomorrow. Cars are another perfect example. Someone with good savings can spend more upfront on a reliable vehicle. That car may require fewer repairs, lower maintenance costs, and last for years. Someone without savings often has fewer choices. They may end up buying an older vehicle with hidden problems. Then the repairs begin. One repair becomes another. Eventually, they're paying for breakdowns, rental cars, lost workdays, and emergency fixes. The cheaper purchase ends up costing far more than the expensive one ever would have. And that's the pattern. Being broke isn't expensive because poor people spend recklessly. It's expensive because they often have to choose the cheapest short-term solution, even when it's the most expensive long-term one. So if that's the problem, how do people escape it? That's where things get interesting. The biggest example of this cycle isn't groceries. It isn't cars. It's housing. Imagine two families earning similar incomes. The first family has enough savings for a down payment and qualifies for a low-interest mortgage. The second family doesn't. So they continue renting. At first, renting seems like the cheaper option. No down payment, no property taxes, no maintenance costs. But over time, something changes. Every lease renewal comes with another rent increase. Meanwhile, the homeowner's monthly payment stays relatively stable if they have a fixed-rate mortgage. Years go by. One family slowly builds equity. The other keeps paying for a place they'll never own. The difference isn't just where they live, it's where their money goes every month. One payment builds wealth, the other simply keeps a roof overhead. The same pattern appears in healthcare. Imagine you ignore a toothache because you can't afford a dental visit. Weeks turn into months. The pain gets worse. What could have been a simple filling now becomes a root canal, or even an extraction. The bill becomes several times larger than it would have been in the beginning. The problem wasn't waiting because you wanted to, it was waiting because you had no choice. Small financial problems have a habit of becoming expensive emergencies. Now think about time. Time is something we rarely include in financial conversations, but it matters. Someone with a washing machine at home can throw in a load of laundry and move on with their day. Someone who depends on a laundromat spends money on transportation, waits for machines, and loses hours every week. The same goes for long bus rides to cheaper grocery stores, waiting in government offices, or juggling multiple jobs. When money is tight, everyday tasks often take more time, and time has value. Every extra hour spent solving basic problems is an hour that can't be spent resting, learning a new skill, working overtime, or being with family. That's another hidden cost that never shows up on a receipt. So, how do you break this cycle? The answer isn't winning the lottery, and it isn't finding the next hot investment. The first goal is much simpler. Create a buffer. Think of it as putting a small wall between yourself and life's surprises. Without a buffer, every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. With one, it becomes an inconvenience. That's why financial experts often recommend building an emergency fund before focusing on investing. Even a modest emergency fund can stop you from relying on high-interest debt when something goes wrong. Instead of borrowing money for a flat tire, you pay for it. Instead of putting a medical bill on a credit card, you cover it with savings. That one decision can save hundreds or even thousands of dollars over time. The next step is learning to think beyond the price tag. Instead of asking, "What's the cheapest option today?" Ask, "Which option costs me the least over the next 5 years?" Sometimes spending a little more upfront saves far more later. A reliable appliance, quality work shoes, a dependable laptop, regular vehicle maintenance, preventive healthcare. These aren't always expenses. Many of them are investments that reduce future costs. Here's the important part. None of this means people struggling financially are making poor choices. In many cases, they're making the best decision available with the resources they have. That's an important distinction. Financial decisions don't happen in a vacuum. They happen within the limits of time, money, and opportunity. Understanding those limits helps explain why escaping financial hardship is often much harder than simply earning more. The good news is that this cycle isn't permanent. Every dollar saved creates a little more flexibility. Every debt paid off reduces future pressure. Every emergency fund contribution increases your ability to handle setbacks without borrowing. Progress doesn't happen overnight. It happens one decision at a time. One repaired problem before it becomes a disaster. One quality purchase instead of 3 cheap replacements. 1 month of savings added to the next. Eventually, those small changes begin working in your favor instead of against you. So if there's one lesson to take away from this video, it's this. Being broke isn't expensive because everyday items cost more. It's expensive because a lack of financial flexibility turns small problems into large ones. Money doesn't just buy products, it buys options. It buys time. It buys peace of mind. Most importantly, it buys the ability to solve problems while they're still small. Once you understand that, your financial goal changes. Instead of chasing the biggest paycheck, you start building the biggest cushion. Because true financial security isn't about never facing unexpected problems. It's about being prepared when they inevitably arrive. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more content where we break down complex money topics into practical ideas you can actually use. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.